Hollow Knight Silksong is here, and shock of shocks, it's even more challenging than its predecessor. As gorgeous as Pharloom's many locales can be, they pose plenty of dangers, from tougher enemies to environmental hazards. Even the simple act of exploration can be rough without the proper tools. Fortunately, there are several ways to overcome them and make the climb to the Citadel that much easier. Buy everything from Chakra. Perhaps the most essential NPC encountered early on, Chakra is a warrior/cartographer who possesses the tools necessary for mapping your journey, but won't accept shards. Venture to the immediate left and farm enemies for a different currency, and set about buying everything she owns. Compass, quills, pins, everything. Maps are just as invaluable in Silksong as they were in the original Hollow Knight, and knowing where you are and all notable points of interest are at any given moment essential. Reaction versus action. Sometimes it pays to dive on enemies and get in some fresh hits before they know what hit them, but that's not always the case in Pharloom. Several enemies, especially early on, will hit back hard, taking off 2 points of health, and if there's more than one, you may quickly find yourself on the back foot. Take stock of the situation, observe your surroundings, and see what they've got going on, but remain agile and out of reach, especially as more mobility options like Swift Step and wall climbing become available. When in doubt, Silk skill it out. In several situations, I find myself hoarding Silk, just in case I need to heal. The fight against Sister Splinter is one such example, but sometimes it's better to take a risk and use it for Silk Spear instead. It clears out smaller mobs pretty quickly while piling more damage on bosses, which means they'll get stunned quicker. Offense really can be the best defense, or at least buy you some valuable breathing room. Get Threadstorm ASAP. Of course, you'll want a better Silk skill as soon as possible, especially with some of the challenges that await. In that respect, Threadstorm is your best bet with its damage. It's found in Greymoor and requires locating a Weaver Tomb. There's a hefty amount of platforming involved, so if you haven't mastered Hornet's Dive, then it's best to seek out one of the two crests first. Don't fear the Reaper. Rumors of the death of infinite pogoing have been greatly exaggerated. Located in a special building in Greymoor, the Reaper's Crest grants a more traditional Hollow Knight style downward slash. It's also ideal for combat since, after healing, Hornet can temporarily strike enemies and generate additional Silk, which means even more Silk skills and even more damage. These manifest in the form of small globules that dissipate after a period, but try not to tunnel in on them too much in boss fights. All those who wander. The Crest of Wanderer is another solid option for exploration and even some combat. You'll need to purchase the simple key from Peb in Bone Bottom, venture through the Marrow to unlock the door, and avoid the Craggler, Swift Step helps, to reach the Wormways. Keep venturing towards the west and eventually you'll circle back to the initial region where a Tomb of Sorts awaits. Venture to the end and the Crest of Wanderer is yours. If the Reaper's Crest is too slow, this provides slashing that's even more equivalent to Hollow Knight's attack, making it much easier to pogo off enemies. Its limited range isn't ideal during boss fights, but having 2 sockets for yellow tools is pretty nice. Crest's changing movesets. Depending on the equipped crest, Hornet's moveset can change, and that doesn't extend to the default attack or downward slash, but the charge slash as well. With the Crest of Wanderer, charged attacks result in a quick multi-hit stab. But with the Reaper's Crest, it becomes a single large swing with some decent knockback. Experiment and find the one that best suits your playstyle. Craft better tools. As potent as the straight pins and long pins can be, you'll want better offensive tools. Venture to the deep docks and find the Forge Daughter who can be commissioned to create new tools, like sting shards, which make for strong traps. She also provides a crafting kit, which increases tool damage, and while it may seem pricier initially, it's well worth venturing for it to keep your tools sharp. When to bind and when not to. Unlike the Knight, Hornet can heal multiple hit points with binding and even initiate it in midair. The problem is that it consumes the entire Silk gauge, even if you only need to heal one mask. If enemies strike during the binding animation, they can interrupt the process, meaning no healing and all your silk is lost. Always try to put some distance between you and your enemies before healing and keep track of their ranged attacks and patterns. Memory locket limitations. I would have thought this was obvious enough, but seeing some players make this mistake, it's well worth noting. Memory lockets only open sockets on a single crest, not for all crests in your inventory. You'll find more as you progress, vendors also sell them, but if you're unsure about which crest to invest in, wait till you've built up a decent stock first. All tied up. Tying essential non-shard currency is something that's garnered mixed opinions from players. While this tied currency isn't lost on death, the act of trying requires spending the same currency. So while the process may cost 80, you'll only get a string of 60 with 20 lost. Ultimately, it's beneficial if you have a surplus, especially in lesser known and more dangerous areas. Tied currency can also just be found lying around, so keep that in your inventory and break it when necessary rather than tying your own. Us against the world. As tempting as it can be to challenge every boss and bang your head against them until you win, not all of them are necessary. Some, including Skargard, the giant red ant with the club and the marrow, are optional and are better dealt with once you have abilities like Swift Step. Of course, you could, as I unassumingly did, beat them without it, but it's not mandatory. Remember to acquire the map pins from Chakra that highlight the locations of challenging foes so you know where to revisit later. Explore, explore, explore. As much as Hornet would like to ascend to the Citadel, it often pays to stay a while and listen. Explore your surroundings, attack walls, wherever you may go for secret alcoves and passageways. Check out side passages, revisit areas that may open up to the Needlein, and take your time. You may discover a litany of tools, including items that increase maximum health and silk. That makes the journey easier. Regularly check wish boards. Speaking of revisiting, make it a point to revisit all the discovered towns and check their wish boards. These offer new requests which usually involve previous areas and can provide different rewards, including memory lockets and currency. They're updating regularly, so check back in when necessary. Before entering the Citadel. Eventually, you'll fulfill the conditions necessary to enter the Citadel. Congratulations! However, there's plenty left to do. Not the least of which includes upgrading your weapon. This can be done in Bellheart for free, and you'll even receive a request for an oil that can improve it more. With how many more hits enemies can take, it's essential, but also you'll be temporarily unable to return until you've made it through the underworks. If you don't fancy a tougher run through the latter, get that free damage. Hey, did you know that we at GamingBolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.